What's up DJs, Jamie Hartley here from Crossfader, and in today's video we're looking at the DDJ-GRV6 from Alphatheta. This, with the new Groove circuit, is a 4-channel controller with some really interesting things going on. First of all, let's have a look at the highlights of what this is all about. The DDJ-GRV6 is a 4-channel controller designed to be versatile, working with both Recordbox for desktop and mobile and Serato DJ Pro. This makes it a solid option whether you're already invested in either platform or if you're planning to switch between them. At its core, this controller is about remix potential thanks to its new Groove circuit feature. It allows you to manipulate drum parts in real time, something you don't typically see on standard DJ controllers. It ultimately allows DJs to remix the drums live when mixing. We will dive deep into this later in the review. The GRV6 is designed with a similar layout to the CDJ-3000 and DJing club standard setup, with a new minimalistic look, making it very appealing for any DJ who aspires to play in clubs. With a new smart rotary selector, you can quickly navigate large libraries and discover new songs using the inbuilt Recordbox AI Discover feature. I'm going to walk you through all the key features, demoing what makes this controller so unique and giving you a better understanding if you're thinking of purchasing one. Remember to stick around until the end, where I'll be sharing my thoughts on the unit as well as its price. And if you've already got this in your hands and are looking to level up your DJ skills, make sure to check out our website for our comprehensive range of DJ courses featuring this controller and many others. Okay, let's get the standard features out of the way. Like I said, this thing plugs and plays with both Recordbox for your laptop and with Serato DJ Pro. It also works with the Recordbox app, however, please note it's only 2 channels that work and a lot of the functionality changes, but you can plug directly into your phone or iPad and run the Recordbox app from there. It's not Bluetooth, it is directly plugged in, and you might need a power source to power the unit at the same time. As we look at the deck side of the controller, you can see we've got the typical cue and play buttons, which feel great. We've got a shorter tempo adjust than usual, but nothing that causes any issues. We've also got the master tempo with a shift function here to access the tempo range, plus the beat sync and key sync functions, all pretty standard now across a lot of DJ controllers. As we move up to the jog wheel, this is a touch capacitive jog wheel, the same size as the CDJ-3000s that you find in clubs, but not mechanical like the CDJ-3000s. Also, the center display is a bit limited as well, just with this needle position scrolling around and not much else going on. It would have been nice to see a bit of information, even if just simply the BPM of the track labeled in the center would be awesome. As we move up the unit, you'll see we have a dedicated 1 and 3 to toggle between the first deck and the third deck, and the same on the opposite side, the second and the fourth deck, which ultimately switches this whole layer to the third deck so you can manipulate up to 4 channels on the unit. Across to the other side, we have the slip mode function, which allows you to do anything to the track and have it keep playing. We've also got quantize, which you can activate and deactivate right here on the unit. Then we've got the looping functions, just like on the CDJ-3000s, and we can half and 2 times the loops. We can change the out position or the in position, and we can exit the loop with this button here. We've got the call and memory options. If we wanted to set a memory queue, we could queue up, store it in the memory, and then we could set something else, maybe a loop, and we could store that in the memory as well. And we can toggle between our different memory points. That's similar to the CDJ layout as well. Lastly, on the decks, we have the performance pads, and these feel and respond exactly the same as the CDJ-3000s, however, with a few extra pad modes. These are plastic clicky buttons and are the same on the CDJ-3000s, but they only display blue on here, the GRV6. The different pad modes we have available are hot cue, stems, beat jump, and sampler, and with the shift functionality, we can access keyboard mode, pad effects, beat loop, and key shift. All creative performance features found within the Recordbox software. These pad modes also directly map out to Serato DJ in the same way. So what is labeled here is the same in Serato DJ, with the hot cue, stems, beat jump, and sampler functionality, with keyboard, pad effects, beat loop, and key shift underneath. There is a hold function on the sampler to display the sampler panel within the software. If we hold this down, we can show or hide that as a shortcut there. It's worth noting that in the stems mode in Recordbox, these 3 buttons here are the same on both sides, and they deactivate and activate, and this is the beat effects stems functionality. So we could add just an echo, for example, to just the drums if I had it active like this, or just the vocals if I had it active like this. So it's nice to see that functionality in here, even though it is tucked away within the performance pad and not located anywhere near the effects channel. Another thing to highlight that if you've already got this unit is that if you're in keyboard mode, for example, you can pitch up and down the track from a hop cue, but you might want to change the range, and you can do this. It's a bit tucked away. If you hold shift and then press the 7th and 8th button, you can go to different parameters, and that's a parameter jump up and down. You can see on the screen, it then allows you to go much higher or lower in pitch, depending on what you're trying to perform with it. Just something I thought worth noting. Nearly everything on this deck section works the same on Serato DJ Pro 2, which is great. Moving on to the mixer, very minimalist here with hardly any markings on any of this. It's a very new design for Alphatheta, but I quite like it. We've got the standard 4 channels with the low, mid and high EQs, as well as the trim controls, plus the 4 up faders here and the crossfader, which you would have to assign the crossfader. There aren't physical buttons on here, you'd assign that within the software. Along the center, we have the sound color effects, and these can be turned on just with this button here, such as the filter. You can also change the sound color effects by holding shift and pressing the FX set, and you can choose from any of these within Recordbox. We also have across to the right hand side the beat effects channel. Now, something to note about the beat effects channel is that it does map out in the software in Recordbox to all the different effects, and they change within the software here. But it's worth noting that if you use Serato DJ Pro, that these effects that are labeled on the unit are hard coded into the unit. So you can't change the Serato DJ effects. What it's doing is applying the Recordbox effects, such as all of these that are labeled, to the songs within Serato. So just something worth noting, but they all sound great, and this is the thing, it's really nice to actually use these inbuilt effects for Serato as well, so that it doesn't change functionality when you move to Serato. On here we have delay echo, low cut echo, spiral, helix, reverb, flanger, phaser, filter, trans, pitch, roll, Mobius, saw, and Mobius tri. They're all the common effects that you would find on something like the DJM A9 in most of the clubs, and it works in the way where you would select an effect such as the echo. You can choose the beat fraction, which is displayed on the unit here, such as 3/4. Then we can choose whether we want to apply it to deck 1, 2, 3 or 4, the sampler, or the master, which will apply it to anything that is turned up here. The level and depth and the on and off button will then activate the effect. It's also worth noting we also have the release effect underneath, so if we hold shift and press it, it will apply one of the release effects and then deactivate the effect at the same time. Another thing worth highlighting within the mixer is the stem ISO, and that means you can isolate the stems using the EQs just with the shift function, and if we press any of the headphone cues, it then flashes, and it means that on this track, if I go to where there's some vocal, I could just remove the vocal, but with the high EQ, or just the mid to remove the instruments, or just the drums. And that's highlighted with the flashing functionality, and you can turn it on and off independently for any of the channels. The master level and the booth level is also found on the face of the unit just here and here. Moving on to the unique part of this controller, this section along the top. Now, before we get into the groove circuit, it's worth highlighting this section in the middle here for browsing around your library. There's this new joystick action going on with this where you can click it left and right and up and down, and this is just an easy way to click in and out of playlists and then jump down 10 tracks at a time. So you can scroll through really large playlists with ease by just clicking up and down. You can also scroll it to individually scroll up and down, and then you can click in and out to toggle back and forth between different playlists. So it's quite an intuitive way to really quickly navigate through your library, and I quite like this joystick, it works well. Then we have the usual things like the view modes, the preview, the deck loads for 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then this discover button here, which jumps straight to the track suggestion feature within Recordbox. Quite a new feature within there where it uses a bit of AI to figure out what songs could work either from your collection, or if I just drop down to streaming, from your streaming services with the track that's currently playing and loaded because of a few different parameters. But it's quite a nice feature to be able to just toggle quickly too. Now the groove circuit feature is independent for the left and the right decks. It does work if you're on channel 3, it would then work on deck 3, or if you're on deck 1, it works on deck 1. So it's not just specifically for deck 1 and 2, it works across all 4 decks. Just to walk you through it quickly, the groove circuit is different on Recordbox as it is to Serato. However, they provide this handy overlay that you can stick on. Now, I haven't taken this off because it's fully sticky back here that you stick straight onto the unit. And this is just a unit that they provide to us. We don't get to keep it. But I'm just going to layer that over there. You can see this is now the Serato labeling, and then this is the Recordbox labeling. So to start with, on Recordbox, we have the gain, which is how loud we want the drums to be swapped underneath. And what this ultimately does is swaps a sample, a looped sample of drums underneath. And when you buy this unit, you're able to import 5 different packs. Let me have a look. If I open this up, there are these factory presets, and then you have these different packs, one installed as standard, and then another 4 that you can download and install. When you download them, you'll go additional contents, groove circuit, and then import. And once you've imported them, you can simply just load them in here. There are loads of different packs. I would say that it probably works better on a lot of electronic music, but there is an R&B and reggae pack there, which is pretty decent. How it works is we could have a track playing. Let me skip to any point in the track. Now, if I press this first button here, it's going to replace the drums of this song with the drums in this like new sample deck, let's say. So you can see it's playing here. And these are the new drums. Let me just toggle it off so you can hear. They're the drums from the track. They're the sample drums. Let's flick through them. Techno ones, breaks ones, and then there's 2 banks as well. So we can hold shift and go to bank B, and you'll see new ones have appeared. And then we can just toggle it off as well. So the drum swap ultimately removes the drum stem, and then it adds in a pre-made sample or loop instead, in replace of it. You can have just single ones like I showed you, or if you hold shift and press this one, you can change it to multi-mode. So if we've got a track playing, you can have 1, 2, 3. You can really layer them up if you want to layer different samples together, and then that can be toggled back to single mode if you choose. Let's go back to bank A. Then next to that, we have this capture feature. So if there's some drums in a song that you really like, you can capture your own samples straight into the drum swap function here. Now, if I just played this track, let's skip back. Let's just go to here, for example. If I press this capture button, you can see this blue marker overlays and it just keeps playing throughout the track. I can change the length of this by holding shift and then pressing capture, and it toggles from 4 beats to 8 to 16 to 32 back to 4. So you could choose like 8 beats, for example. And if you want to swap it out, you see they're all flashing now. And if I just press it now, what it's doing is it's grabbing those drums and it's put it now into this drum swap. So if I were to load a totally different song in here and then play it, now if I press this one, it's playing the drums from that previous track instead. Let's skip further on. And that's from the previous track. Now, I will say that there's a bit of a limitation with this. The thing that I don't like about it at the moment is that you've got these high quality drums here, but if we played a track and just removed the drums with stem mode, it doesn't sound great. And if you're then layering a really high quality drums underneath, it can start to make the rest of the song not sound great in quality. If the Recordbox stems updates its quality and they get better, then this will be a great feature. It's good at the moment, but I think that's a limitation, is just the quality of the stem isolation currently within Recordbox. But I do like the idea that you can just swap the drums out and have a bit of fun with it, and also make your own banks. If you make a full bank of stuff off your own tracks, then you can save that as well, and you can just save the drum preset using this button here, and then have your own drum preset, which is quite cool. It's quite fun to play with. Just know that it's intended primarily for swapping the drums out, because it automatically mutes the drum stem and then plays whatever is in this sample deck. Now, it does work with the tempo adjust, and it moves in time with it. It also works with the nudging on the edge of the jog wheel, but I have found if I stop the track, the drums keep playing, whether that's a glitch or not, because then if I let go, it's okay. But it's just something worth noting that it doesn't actually scratch the sampled drums as well. They just keep playing in the background. It also doesn't loop or anything like that. So if I were to go here, so the drums are totally independent to whatever I'm doing on the song originally. Something worth noting if you're going to be performing with this feature. Then as we move across on the groove circuit, we have the drum roll, and this allows us to play a song and literally just roll the drums. So I'm looping a 1 beat there. And we can just roll the drums. If I just load a different track in, we can also do drum trans, which basically chops the drums up at different increments. So if I hold shift, it silences every other beat. So it makes more like a cutting effect on the drums. So that's the shift function underneath the drum roll. Just to play that again. And it means you can create these little fills and build-ups and rolls. Quite fun. How much you're going to use it, it depends. And then lastly, we have the drum release, which means you can apply an effect just to the drums. There are 3 different effects to choose from, and you can hold shift and toggle down, and you see there's backspin, final break, and echo, for example. That just echoes the drums out, and we've got the toggle and then latching it on and locking it in place. We've got the other ones, backspin, no drums, drop back in. So ultimately that is this new groove circuit on Recordbox. You can change the gain of any of that, so you can turn the drums up and down with a standard level, but it's quite fun, it's quite interesting, it's a new feature, it's something that's very unique to this controller. Because there's such a difference with how the groove circuit works on Serato DJ Pro, to the point where there isn't really a groove circuit, it's a whole different feature. They've provided this overlay like I mentioned, which you can stick over the top if you choose to use it. I'd potentially cut this out if you're going to be back and forth between the 2 different softwares, because it's a full-on sticky pad that you stick down, and it's probably going to stick and stay there. So with that placed over, I'm just going to run through, and instead of groove circuit, we've got stems effects. Now Serato does already have stems effects, but there are a few unique things in here and things to look out for. Something to bear in mind is this isn't affecting the software. This is like a hardware thing going on, because you'll see as I toggle things on and off, it doesn't really display in the stems section of the software like it would if I go to the stems mode here and toggle these on and off. You can see it does it in the software. But now if I put this on and press play, we can choose any of these, the vocal, melody, bass or drums. And let's say I wanted to just take the drums, for example. I can then apply an effect just to the drums, and the effects are listed underneath each one as a secondary feature. Echo out is what's currently loaded. So it's echoed out just the drums and left everything else. Let's say we wanted to do just the vocal. And it's echoing out just the vocal. We can then choose different ones. So I could hold shift and press this one, which will make a roll out effect. Pretty cool. And then we've got breaker. It breaks the drums out. And we've also got delay. delaying just the vocal. And you can play around with them and activate on one or more of the different stems. Then we also have the stems roll feature, again, something quite new. We can be playing the track and it just rolls whatever stems you've got activated, which is all of them at the moment. But if I skip into the song and just chose drums, could take just the melody. Let's go to another part of the track. Do the vocal. And then we can apply just this rolling effect on one of the different stems. We could also hold shift and do the trans effect. So all in all, like I mentioned before, the whole unit really maps out the same in Serato DJ Pro as well. Just to reiterate, these effects do not change the software effects. If I were to go on effects here and switch between them, this isn't to do with Serato, this is hardware effects within the unit, which is a pro and a con for some people, depending on how much you like to use Serato DJ's effects, but worth knowing about. For connectivity, you'll see on the front of the unit, we have the headphone out with an 8¼ inch jack, with the level, the mix and master, and also a mic level accessible on the front too. Along the back, we have the power to connect a power adapter or power source if you're using the phone or a tablet, and then you can also power it with the USB bus power from a laptop, all via USB-C. Android has a switch for mono and stereo. We also have an RCA booth output as well as a Master 2 RCA, and it's nice to see we now have a balanced jack output on Master 1 plus the mic input, which is balanced with its own attenuation control too. So the Groove 6 comes in and takes place instead of the DDJ Flex 6, which has been an ever popular 4-channel controller from Pioneer DJ, who are now called Alphatheta. And this replacement unit comes in about $180 to $200 more expensive than the DJ Flex 6. However, I do feel like it sits at a decent place in the market. There is a bit of a stretch now between the Flex 4 and this, which is the Groove 6, the replacement of the Flex 6 in price range, and you're jumping up quite a bit going from the Flex 4 now to this if you were to make that move. But I will say that I feel like this is built better than the Flex 6 was. That was one of my gripes with the Flex 6, is its build quality, and I feel like this is built better. I like that there's now a balanced master output on the rear of the unit, making it ever so slightly more pro quality, where you can play in much better environments with different sound systems. And to be honest, the thing I actually love most about this isn't the groove circuit. It's a cool feature, it's fun, but the thing I love most is the fact that it feels very familiar to a CDJ club layout for a much smaller price. Just putting the performance pads, like the standard hot cue layout, up at the top of the units and having the full-size jog wheels straight away gets you familiar with that CDJ layout, which is cool to see on a controller of this caliber. The groove circuit thing is good, but I don't know if it's almost one of those things that you'll have a lot of fun with to start, and then you might use it occasionally throughout your set. It's a nice introduction to kind of experimenting and playing with the drums and with manipulating tracks beyond just mixing between different tracks. You're manipulating things on the fly, a bit like if you were to have the RMX 1000, which you see in a lot of pro DJ booths, a lot of pro DJs using this extra RMX additional unit to apply way more effects and to do lots of things with the drums, similar to this drum roll feature here. There's a similar feature on the RMX. So it's a nice thing to introduce at this level of controller. Like I said, whether that's going to be a huge selling point for people because it's so unique, who knows? But it is quite fun to play with. It's much better than the merge effects that were the unique feature introduced on the DDJ Flex 6, the predecessor. So it's definitely a welcomed addition from my perspective. The price range is good. I think it sits quite nicely in their range of products now, and it definitely is an upgrade from a Flex 4. I felt like the Flex 6 wasn't a huge upgrade. It was just a 4-channel version of the Flex 4, whereas this does feel like an upgrade. You're stepping into a much more club ready layout with some much more robust features within there as well. If you want to see this in action, just make sure to go watch the mix that we've put together. And as ever, make sure to check out wearecrossfader.co.uk for all of our DJ courses, including new lessons on the Groove 6. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.